Colin Christianson here with Tenacious Ventures, and we are at NWES, and we are talking to some of the people that are in the booths, on the floor, and some of the speakers that we've had on stage. And so with us today, we have Panos Moutafis. And so he's here to talk about one of the hot topics that we hear a lot about is AI. And he has an incredible little Zenus device here that it's a little powerful machine. So why don't you tell us about it?
So let me start about what problem we're solving.
Great.
Let's say you have a website. Would you launch a website without Google Analytics? The answer is no. Everybody has some analytics to see how many visitors you have, how many people come, stay, where they click, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we're doing events with hundreds, thousands, millions in investments, and we don't measure. We don't measure enough. So what do? We are studying the behavior of people in the sessions, in the lounges, in the trade floor.
Wow.
And we do that by using AI and computer vision in particular. So we have the ability of analyzing the physical environment in real time, and then we can tell how many people walked by, how many of them stopped. Did they stay for a minute? Did they stay for 10 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Were they men? Were they women? Were they young? Were they old? Based on their facial expressions, were they having a good time or not so much?
Mm-hmm.
And because that's a lot of data that you are processing, and this can be personal data, we want to find a solution that will strip away any identifiable information. We want to have a solution that you don't have to stream to the cloud gigabytes of data per day for every sensor. So what this small device does, even though it's small, it's very powerful, it's processing everything in real time locally.
Mm-hmm.
It does not take pictures like a traditional, camera. It does not store or transmit any video. Instead, it connects to a camera sensor and takes the physical environment, converts it into statistics, insights, and only sends to the cloud the insights. And because it's anonymized, it is aggregated, it is impossible to identify an individual based on this data.
That's amazing. So you're anonymizing the data essentially so that it's not necessarily recognizing their face, but it's still collecting the analytics. So if I were an exhibitor, I could basically see how much interaction I had throughout the day. If I'm a retailer, I could see how many people came into my store and what they did. So how does that work then? Like, let's say, so do you need multiple of these devices, right? Or can you run several cameras into it? Like how do you interface or build it out?
So we have each of these, small boxes. It's like a mini computer, but very powerful. It connects to one sensor, one camera sensor. So it is one-to-one. And then in some cases, you have a booth or an activation having one of them. You have other brands having multiple of these. Because, let's say you have a booth which is 20 by 20, 30 by 30, and you have 2 or 3 different demo stations. A lot of the time, they want to see which demonstration was the most effective.
So some A/B testing, basically.
Exactly right. You can do A/B testing in real life, and you go way beyond in some ways to the information you can collect online, because online you just see clicks, likes, comments. You don't see how people react to certain type of content, and we do here.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is definitely the computer vision of the future to do analytics. Like
100%. The one thing I'm always cautioning people is that just having the data alone is not enough. You need to have someone or work with us to be able to convert the data into insights.
Mm-hmm.
Because data on its own is nothing unless you have insights. And we always recommend pairing it with human observations, pairing it with surveys, pairing it with registration data. Because when you have a lot of data sources combined, pointing you in the same direction, the same insight, this is when you got something. It might be space for improvement. It might be validating what you know. It might be uncovering a blind spot you didn't know you had. But you need to have the combination of multiple data sources all pointing in the same direction.
That's amazing. And what's a good example of the way that a client using this data would get those insights and then use it to reform their behaviors and the way that they're doing a booth, retail, whatever the use case is? Do you have any good examples?
I have many, but since we are the Northwest event show, maybe we can use one of the examples from this show, because we installed our service here last year. And one of the insights we saw was that the two additional stages on the trade floor that we had here last year, they were not as popular as the breakout rooms upstairs. So this year, do you see them anywhere? No, they are not here.
Yeah.
Why? Because we realized that people on the trade floor wanted to network and they want to go upstairs to educate and learn. This is one design change that was applied very immediately. I spoke yesterday about an event organizer. It's FDIC, which is for firefighters. And they had this massive activation last year at the back of the show, trying to attract a lot of people and attention there. And the first day, the organizer, they said, it's a huge success. We have a huge line of people waiting to go and see it. But you know what? You don't want to have huge lines because huge lines means there are bottlenecks.
Yeah.
People were not very happy. So we were able to address some of these bottlenecks. And the result was on the second day of the event, by making some changes on the layout and stuff, the sponsors and the exhibitors, the second day, they saw an increase in leads captured by 66%.
Wow.
That's a very tangible way of using data to make improvements for the experience, the logistics, the ROI of the event.
That's amazing. I can see so many use cases. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you or even how to get one of these, how do they do that?
So a good way is to go to our website. It's www.zenus.ai, zenus.ai.
That's amazing. I want to play with one of these for a couple days.
Oh, we should do something. You know what? On the next level, let me end with that. The first thing that we do and we focus on is understanding the behavior of people in physical spaces. That's one. The second thing we do is we can take the data and influence the experience in real time. This device has an HDMI port. We can connect it to a display and then we can change the content depending on who is walking by in front. So the second, we can change the lights, the music. You can start influencing the experience of people in real time. The third part is when you do the event for 1 year, second year, third year, then you start getting benchmarks for your events, or we also have, in our case, industry-wide benchmarks. So, for example, we have some medical shows, and then we have one medical show coming to us and say, how do we compare to the other medical shows? Are we high? Are we low? Where do we stand?
Yeah.
And that's something people really, really want to know.
That's awesome. Again, like I can see this thing everywhere in the future. Thanks so much.
Totally. No, thank you for having me.
Amazing having this, and I'm glad you brought the little box because I love hardware and
People
I love
like touching and seeing things.
Yeah,
right?
of course. See, touch. It's definitely a great way to engage with everything more. I love it. Thanks so much again. Appreciate having you here.
Thank you.
Yep.